Your Excellency and distinguished guests, picture this. It's the 25th of April, 1915. You're scrambling ashore at Gallipoli with the first of the New Zealand troops, not far behind your Australian counterparts. At the tender age of 18, your pack is heavy on your back, weighing you down equally as much as the weight of your country's expectancy. The screams of bellows of injured men ring in your ears. As you reach for your gun, suddenly the men around you start to fall. They slump into the blood-sodden sand amongst the hundreds that already lie there. Looking up, you can see your men hopelessly trying to climb the rugged cliffside, only to be picked off by the Turks with half as much effort. A mix of panic, adrenaline, anger fill your chest. You take aim at a stray enemy soldier, but something makes you hesitate. He is tall, strong-looking, olive skin from what you can see beneath his uniform. He can't be that much older than you, has the same youthful glint in his eye. For all you know, he has a 12-year-old sister as you do. I'm sure she would miss him terribly. His parents, cousins, aunts and uncles. Perhaps he has a devoted girlfriend back home. He is just like you, taking orders from men he barely knows in the name of his country. If he dies today, right now with your bullet, will his family even know that he was shot in action? Dare I say it, by a very ordinary Kiwi boy. Do you shoot? As you look to your left, your eldest brother stares back at you. The sad look in his eye tells you that it's okay, that this is war, and no matter the similarities or differences between you and the man on the other side, yesterday, today, and for an eternity of tomorrows until the war is over, your loyalties lie with the British Empire. You come to realise that if you don't shoot him, he's going to shoot you. So as your brother gives you the nod, bang! This 18-year-old, a brother, a son, a friend. I bet there would be one of these men in just about every family seated here today, in leaving their country to serve for us in Gallipoli, Flanders Fields, the Somme. They made the ultimate sacrifice. But what does this mean? To make a sacrifice is to give up something valued for other, often more valued causes, so that I could stand here today. I'm 16. I have a future, be it unknown, but I know it will be bright. When referring to the sacrifice that the World War I veterans made, it is really important to remember that these men were young. Majority were between the ages of 18 and 25. They had a lifetime of opportunities ahead of them, as we do. What do you plan to do when you leave school? Maybe you're going to university, perhaps taking up an apprenticeship, doing some overseas travel. And yet these men were plucked from their jobs, family, routine, education, to do some overseas travel of their own, although in a vastly different context. 100 years on, it's actually quite hard for us to imagine what this would have been like for the remainder of New Zealand. Some families will have lost their only source of income. Others were widowed, orphaned. Imagine if it was you, your cousins, your brothers, your dad. Getting on a boat set for the other side of the world to fight in the name of the British Empire. How would you feel? A perfect example of the sacrifice in World War I is shown in the story of 2nd Lieutenant Thomas Grace of the Wellington Battalion, son of Lawrence Marshall Grace and Henerieta Kahui Grace. He was a talented sportsperson, an old boy of Wellington College. He was a player in the Māori rugby team. He was one of the few Māori soldiers that had been at Gallipoli since day one. The other men in his battalion used to joke that he was so good at throwing his grenade due to his practice with a cricket ball as a kid. He was killed in action during an attack by the Wellington Battalion as they conquered those crucial heights of Chunuk Bair. He could have become one of the greatest rugby players New Zealand has ever seen. He could have married, died of old age, and yet he sacrificed himself for us, defending us in the trenches of Gallipoli, 8th of August, 1915. But is the sacrifice necessarily a negative thing? Through this sacrifice came the birth of the identity of New Zealand as a nation. We sent over 103,000 New Zealanders to war, 18,500 of which were killed. But in saying this, they were proud of who they were and where they had come from. At Gallipoli was the very first time that our current New Zealand flag was ever flown. We began to refer to ourselves as Kiwis. We must respect this sacrifice, in the words of John McCrae, World War I veteran and poet. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep. Though poppies grow in Flanders fields. Kamate, kamate, kaura, kaura. Will I live? Will I live? Will I die? Will I die? This is the ultimate sacrifice.